Hey everyone, welcome back to the Listening Vault, InsideKael. I'm Koushik Gaja, and thanks for joining me again after episode 1. We unpacked those core questions from pause, why reactions hit so fast, patterns loop, and effort doesn't always shift things. Glad to hear some of you are sitting with them. A few messages on at InsideKael mention spotting autopilot moments already. That's the spark we're after. Today, in episode 2, we're zooming in on one of those big puzzles. Where do impulses actually come from? We'll break it down into a few parts, starting with a quick recap tie-in, then emotional and memory roots, unconscious prep, and wrapping with what it means for us. Along the way, personal bits from my life and how this plays out in Kael's story from The World Just Is. No rush, let's ease in. If you remember from last time, one question that stuck out was, where does an impulse actually come from? It's easy to think impulses just pop up out of nowhere, like a sudden craving or flash of anger, and we react as if they're fresh each time. But in pause, we start seeing they're not random. They're built from stuff that's already running under the surface. For me, this hit during a late night scroll session. I'd feel this pull to keep going, even though I knew I needed sleep. Where was that coming from? Not just willpower failure, but deeper drivers like stress release or habit loops from busy days. The book puts it gently, drawing from psychology, neuroscience, and lived experience. It explores how emotion, habit, memory, and unconscious preparation shape behavior long before intention appears, and why awareness often arrives after a direction is already forming. Impulses don't start with us deciding. They're prepped by emotional momentum or old memories firing up, like how a familiar song can trigger a mood swing before you even name the memory attached. In my startup years, criticism would spark defensiveness instantly. Turns out it echoed early feedback fears, not the current situation. Spotting that origin changed how I responded, even if just a bit. And in The World Just Is, Kyle feels this constantly. His beat too late means impulses from the world hit, and his automatic shell kicks in before he processes. Those jolts of sound or light aren't neutral. They're shaped by his inner delays, mirroring how our impulses carry baggage we don't see at first. So, impulses aren't blank slates. They're loaded with roots we'll unpack next. Let's start with the ones that hit closest to home, emotions and memories. These are often the first roots we notice when tracing back an impulse. In pause, it's clear that emotion isn't just a reaction, it's a driver that builds momentum way before we label it, like how a small irritation can snowball into a full snap. The feeling is there, prepping the impulse, and awareness catches up later. For me, this showed up big time with anger during high pressure moments. I'd feel this heat rise and words would fly out defensive, only afterward realizing it wasn't about the current trigger, but an old emotional echo from feeling dismissed in earlier jobs. The impulse to protect myself was rooted in that memory, firing up automatically. Once I started noticing the physical cue first, tight chest, racing thoughts, it gave a tiny window to pause, not control it fully, but see where it came from. Memories play the same game. They're not neutral storage, they shape how impulses form. A familiar situation pulls out an old response because the brain links it to past survival, reward, or avoidance. Think about comfort eating. It's not random, it's tied to memories of stress relief from childhood treats or tough days. In my case, reaching for late night snacks during writing blocks traced back to uni all nighters where sugar helped focus. The impulse feels fresh, but it's memory-driven habit. Light neuroscience backs this. Things like the amygdala, emotion center, and hippocampus, memory hub, light up fast, prepping responses before the prefrontal cortex, our thinking part, fully engages. It's why emotional flashbacks or triggered habits feel so instant. No blame here. It's wiring for quick survival, just not always helpful now. And in The World Just Is, Kale's delays make this visible. External jolts hit, but his inner emotional/memory roots build the automatic mimicry shell. A loud noise isn't just sound, it's layered with past overwhelm, sparking numbness before he processes. Those indigo drawings or dust mote miracles, they're quiet rebellions against that rooted momentum, moments where presence peeks through. Seeing these roots, emotion and memory, doesn't erase impulses, but it shifts them from why do I do this to oh, that's where it's coming from. A gentler start. But emotions and memories aren't the whole story. There's this even deeper layer of unconscious prep that sets it all in motion. This is where things get fascinating because the brain is already gearing up for action way before we feel like we're deciding. In Pause, it's described as unconscious preparation shaping behavior long before intention appears, like the mind's backstage crew setting the scene without telling the actor. One of the classic examples comes from neuroscience, those Benjamin Libet experiments back in the 80s. They showed a readiness potential, brain activity ramping up hundreds of milliseconds before people reported deciding to move, like pressing a button. It's not that free will is an illusion, but that a lot of prep happens under the hood. For everyday stuff, think about driving a familiar route. You decide to turn, but your hands are already moving based on habit and cues you barely register. In my life, this showed up during presentations. I'd feel nervous, but my body would start pacing or fidgeting before I even thought I'm anxious. The impulse to move was prepped unconsciously from past stage fright memories. Noticing that prep, the subtle tension build, let me interrupt it sometimes, just by breathing into it. This unconscious engine isn't lazy, it's efficient, evolved for quick responses in an unpredictable world. But in modern life, it can drive impulses we later question, like scrolling endlessly when bored, brain prepping for dopamine hits, or avoiding tough conversations, prep from old rejection fears. The key insight from Pause: awareness often arrives after the direction is forming, so impulses feel like they come from nowhere, but they're this quiet build-up. Kael lives this in The World Just Is. His agonizing delay means the world's jolts hit, and unconscious prep builds his automatic mimicry before he can join in. A flash of light or sound isn't processed fresh, it's pre-shaped by his inner wiring, sparking the shell. But those missed moments that finally arrive, they're when presence catches the prep early enough for a spark of something new. Spotting this layer doesn't stop impulses cold, it just reveals they're not as mysterious or blameworthy as they seem. More like inherited momentum we can start to see. So, pulling it all together, what does recognizing these roots actually do for us? Emotions firing up old feelings, memories linking to habits, unconscious prep ramping the brain before we decide. It's a lot, but in Pause, the point isn't to stop impulses or claim total control, it's recognition. Seeing where they come from shifts the experience from mystery or self blame to something observable. For me, this meant less why am I like this, frustration, and more curiosity, like during a recent creative block, tracing the impulse to avoid starting back to fear of imperfect work. Spotting the emotional/memory/unconscious buildup gave space to sit with it, maybe even redirect a little, not perfect but gentler. The book wraps this idea nicely. Awareness often arrives after a direction is forming, but presence can alter what would otherwise move unchecked. Impulses have origins we can start mapping, not to erase them, but to participate where possible. No grand liberation here, just quieter ground. And Kael's journey in The World Just Is mirrors it perfectly. His agonizing delay reveals those roots in real time, jolts shaped by inner prep, automatic responses from unconscious momentum. But the sparks, those indigo moments or dust mote miracles, are recognition breaking through, presence catching the origins early enough for something new to emerge. It's the same inquiry, lived out. If this episode sparked any aha on your own impulses, where one came from, or a pattern you traced, share it on at InsideKael Instagram. Love hearing how this lands for you. Grab Pause or The World Just Is on Amazon or InsideKael.framer.website if you want to dive deeper. They're companions for exactly this kind of noticing. Thanks for listening. Until episode 3, where we explore how habits lock these impulses in loops, unlock that vault, and take a breath.